folks, for a week, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has been saying there's not enough time to bring criminal justice reform up for a vote in the Senate. It passed the House in February. What the hell have you been doing? Donald Trump has been tweeting about it. He's been pushed by Democrats and Republicans. McConnell's even been lying by saying, oh, there are not enough votes there. Folks, there's at least 70 votes there to get this passed. Well, today, he finally tweeted out that after some changes, I'm going to call this thing up for a vote. Now, all right, folks, back to our Roland Unfiltered video in just one moment. You should write this website down, marijuanastock.org, marijuanastock.org. I'm going to tell you why. As we transition into the holiday season, this is the time when we start thinking about giving and sharing. Sometimes the best gift that you can give someone is an opportunity that could potentially change their lives. That's why our friends at Transatlantic Real Estate have created an investment opportunity for the everyday investor. It involves legal marijuana and crowdfunding. Now, we all know that legal marijuana has created one of the fastest growing industries in this country. We also know that crowdfunding makes it easy to be an early investor of an opportunity. This, folks, is a no-brainer. But what Transatlantic Real Estate is doing is they have a business model that is simple to understand. They buy land that supports marijuana grow operations and lease it to the licensed, high-paying tenants. So you'll be a landlord of a licensed marijuana farm in a high-growth market. Now, you can invest anywhere from $300 up to $10,000 before the company chooses to go public. Now, here is some more good news. They have recently extended the offer, which means you still have time if you take action now. Now, what you must do is complete and confirm your application to participate. So be sure to complete the process. Don't spend all of your money over the holidays and end up with empty pockets. Instead, get a return on your investment. You can also consider making an investment for someone special. Call this your holiday gift or early gift. To get started, go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org. You can get in the game and do it now. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered Fit. Here are some key provisions in the bill. It gives judges more discretion in sentencing offenders for nonviolent crimes, particularly drug offenders. It also places federal prisoners closer to their homes. It allows inmates to request reviews of their cases under the Fair Sentencing Act of 2010. What it also does, it deals with the issue of the disparity between powder and crack cocaine, expands prison employment programs so inmates could earn wages. Now, look, this is not a perfect bill. You have folks on the Democratic side in the House who were not happy, like Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, with the version that passed the House. But this is really the best, I believe, you're going to see criminal justice reform under Republican leadership. Joining us right now is Topeka Sam, founder and executive director, Ladies of Hope Ministries. Also, Hillary Shelton, director of the NAACP Washington Bureau. Topeka, I want to start with you. Look, you served time in prison. You know what this is like. You were one of the folks who was on Capitol Hill pushing McConnell, pushing Republicans to do this. Your thoughts on him finally stop playing games and calling this up for a vote?
That's right. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Roland. I really, really appreciate it. It's time. It's time that we give some provisions and some justice to the people that, I have left behind. And we have been fighting. Yes, the First Steps Act is a first step. Yes, it can be better. It can be meatier. But, let's face it. All the criminal justice reform that has, or any kind of criminal justice bills that have come through and have been passed have been damaging. In our opinion, this will help. It may not at the very beginning stages help every single person that is inside. What it does is provides hope. It provides access to programming, so when people come home, they have opportunities to transform their life. It allows for women, specifically the work that I do and the things that I even experienced while I was inside. It allows us to have our basic human rights met, like personal hygiene products. We talk about, yes, there are places in this country that have stopped the shackling of women while during child labor, but there's no oversight and nothing is being enforced. Last week, just in New York, there was a woman who was shackled during child labor. Now there's a lawsuit that's going out, and it has passed in New York. So, our sisters and brothers, the ones that I talk to every single day, want this bill to pass. Why? Because if this doesn't pass, we don't know what will happen, right? And it is a first step. So we're excited that finally, it gets an opportunity to get a vote. And once it gets the vote, then it's time to go for a second, a third step, and then to make sure that we are holding the system accountable.
Hillary, I want to go to you again. Democrats wanted more. First off, they had actually an even better bill in the last moments of President Obama's administration. The belief among Democrats is, Hillary Clinton is going to win. We can get a better bill. Well, Donald Trump won. And so this was one Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee did not support. She jammed me up when I was at the Houston Rockets playoff game against Golden State, saying it's a bad bill. And I said, well, Congresswoman, if it's such a bad bill, why did Cedric Richmond vote for it, the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus? Why did Congressman Jim Clyburn vote for it? Is this the best bill you believe, Hillary, that we could get out of a Republican-controlled Congress?
No, what we're seeing is an evolution. Keeping in mind what happened in the House of Representatives, the First Step Act was only a prison reform bill and included no sentencing reform components. That is nothing at the front end, only something at the back end, and some problems even along those lines. We didn't support the bill as it moved through the House and continued to push forward, understanding that this is a process in which the House and the Senate have to respond. So as such, the House bill didn't move. We wanted to make sure it was very clear that this was not enough, and we continued to move forward. But we also knew if we get something through the Senate, we need something to conference with in the House as we think about strategy. So the bottom line was it wasn't enough, and we support the positions held by Sheila Jackson Lee. She chairs and now she will chair the House Crime Subcommittee of the Judiciary Committee. She was ranking on that committee last year. She understood exactly what it meant and exactly how the game is played. Now here's where we are now. The bill with the same name is the bill that's pending in the Senate. That's the bill that began with Chuck Grassley's bill that was not enough either. But what we're able to do is leverage between the U.S. senators as well as the White House itself. It was Kushner, as a matter of fact, in the White House that said the door is wider open than even that Grassley's pushing forward on. And thank God for the great work of both Cory Booker and Kamala Harris. They both understood.
Well, on the Senate side, but
the Senate side,
the person who was doing the heavy lifting on the House side was Congressman Hakeem Jeffries.
No question. While other things were going on, we knew the bill was weak, but it was all we had. Let's keep it alive, but let's see how much we can do to grow it. That's the way this process works. In essence, we want to continue the pressure, and we did. Half of the CBC members did not support that bill, and half did. But that's okay. We played the game that way before, and we understood we're grown-ups. We see how that kind of piece of it works. We were able to get something out of it. The way things work on Capitol Hill, if you have a lesser bill in the House and a better bill in the Senate, when you come together in conference, you want to make sure that you have something you can negotiate. If we said the bill in the House is all we needed, that's the best we would have gotten out of the Senate. But what we have now working in the Senate is something much stronger, much more comprehensive that gets those front-end issues of sentencing reform, those things like mandatory minimum sentences, which is a huge deal, giving more discretion to judges to actually move outside of the sentencing range that are very much there as well. We want to make sure that we have a number of things in place, including, as she mentioned, the shackling of women giving birth in our prisons. Those issues we wanted to have addressed as well. As things are set up now, we believe we're going to have much, much more if we're able to get this Senate bill through as things are even now, and we're still continuing to push for some components will help even strengthen it even more. In essence, the system works as long as we understand how to work the system.
Topeka, I want to go back to you again. Jared Kushner was the one who was pushing this inside the White House. His dad served time in federal prison. He knew what that was like, not being able to talk to his father, having restrictions, making phone calls. I met with him for an hour in May to get an understanding if this White House was serious about this. He was facing significant obstruction from the likes of then Attorney General Jeff Sessions. You also have, of course, Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas, who was making lots of noise here as well. They were holding up. The sheriff's organization withdrew their support. But the reality is there are a number of other police organizations that were also supportive of this particular bill. And so can you talk about what it was like, first of all, being African-American, being somebody who served time in prison, having to deal with people who are highly critical of folks like you for daring to even work with the Trump White House or work with Republicans on this particular bill?
Right. Thank you. To be honest, for me, it didn't matter. My people are what matters. It's people over politics. Right, despite how I may feel about every individual person who's in Congress from state to state, I mean, Sister Sheila Jackson Lee, I love her, I appreciate her work, but she also serves a position where she feels you should build nurseries inside of prisons. My position is that why would we do that? If a woman can be with her child, she should be able to be home with her child. So there's ways that you can have alternatives to incarceration. The problem is that, as you stated, people have not served time inside of a prison. And so they come from this expertise, yet it's not a lived expertise. The reason why this bill has been pushed so heavily is because it's been people on the ground who have been directly impacted, who has actually helped to inform what goes in this bill. And yes, it is a little bit more depth because the sentencing reform is in it. And is it enough? Absolutely not. We need to do some things, for me, which we can continue to push forward and do that will help to bring and reverse the injustices that have people serving life in prison right now. But as it states right now, as far as I'm concerned, it's almost like miss me with it. If you haven't lived my experience, then you can't tell me what's best for me.
Now, obviously, the vote will be taken, hopefully, barring any sort of gains from Mitch McConnell. And again, if it passes, things get resolved, and of course it goes to Trump's desk for his signature. Tamika, I want to ask you again, Tamika, what you have now is you have Republicans who are finally waking the hell up, who realize all that tough law and order crap for years, it was destroying the budgets of states. And I tell people all the time, I don't care what your motive is. If your motive is financial, that's fine with me. If you can be motive, yours can be financial, somebody else's can be moral. It doesn't matter as long as the policy gets changed to help people.
That's right. And I mean, we think about the fact that it was Democrats and Republicans that got us to this place. It's going to take Democrats and Republicans to get us out of this place. And that's the bottom line. We can point blame, we can point fingers, but everybody needs to be accountable because we are why we are here today, because nobody wanted to take up the issue boldly and in a sense of urgency in the last several years. When President Obama came in and he did the CP14, the Clemency Initiative, which was great, it still was not enough. And so now it happened the last year of the second term of his presidency. And so we need to look at what we are all doing in order to change the criminal legal system, and it is every single one of us is responsibility. 1 in 2 families in this country, with a report that just came out the other day from Forward, 1 in 2 families in this country have an incarcerated loved one. 1 in 4 women have an incarcerated loved one. This has got to stop.
Final question for you, Hillary, and that is, first of all, there are 2.3 million people who are in prison or jail in America. That's cool. Only 200,000 on the federal level. So the real issues on the state level. Do you believe that when you have criminal justice reform on the federal level, it then causes states to say, hey, we should follow the Fed's lead?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we've seen that in the past. Keep in mind, when Barack Obama came into office, we had 2.4 million Americans serving time in our prisons and jails at one time. Because of a number of the initiatives coming out of the Obama administration, coming from the U.S. Congress, keeping in mind, at the time he came in 2008, the majority leader of the Senate was Harry Reid, who supported criminal justice reform as well. And, of course, Nancy Pelosi, who continues to be on the front line of supporting those in the Judiciary Committee under her leadership trying to address these concerns as well. The bottom line is that as we're looking at things moving forward, we were able to achieve a lot of leeway to the point that we're even having contracts signed or not signed anymore between private prisons as we saw the numbers going down altogether. So we know what works. We know that the Trump administration has come in, Jeff Sessions very particularly, repealed a number of those provisions that came even as guidances from Eric Holder, our first African-American Attorney General of the United States, as he instructed his prosecuting attorneys not to include weight. There was the trigger in drug crimes that began to utilize mandatory minimum sentences. These strategies work moving forward, knowing we needed much more comprehensive changes to our overall criminal justice system.
All right, then. We certainly appreciate it, Hillary. Tamika, thanks a bunch as well. We'll wait to see when this bill gets taken up and as it moves to the United States Senate. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. We are looking forward to this getting to the floor this week. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to come and address the show and your audience. And we'll be there, and we're pushing, we're praying, and this is just, again, a first step. Thank you, Roland.
I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch.